Put the bag on the table and step away from it. Derek Vaughan's command cut through the boardroom so sharply that every executive stopped speaking. Ethan Walker stood in the open doorway, rain dripping from his worn coat onto the polished floor. In one hand, he carried the cardboard box Hawthorne Luxury Group had given him when they fired him that afternoon. In the other, he held Claire Hawthorne's ivory leather handbag. Two security officers moved behind him. Claire rose slowly from the head of the table. The bag had disappeared after the Winston Hotel charity luncheon. It was insured for $37,000, but the leather and gold clasp were not what mattered. Inside were confidential acquisition papers, her late mother's silver watch, and a black executive authentication key capable of approving transfers worth millions. "Where did you get that?" Claire asked. "My daughter found it under a bench outside the hotel." Derek gave a cold laugh. "Of course she did." Ethan crossed the room and placed the handbag in front of Claire. "I came to return what belongs to you." "You were dismissed for stealing company money 6 hours ago," Derek said. "Now you appear with the CEO's missing property. You expect anyone here to believe that is a coincidence?" "I don't care what you believe." Ethan looked at Claire. "Check every pocket." Claire released the gold clasp. Her wallet was inside. 2 sealed cash envelopes remained untouched. The acquisition documents were still wrapped in their protective sleeve. Her mother's watch rested exactly where she had left it. Nothing appeared disturbed. Then Claire reached into the narrow inner compartment. Her fingers found only empty leather. She searched again. "The authentication key is gone." Derek turned toward security. "Search him." One officer checked Ethan's coat and pockets. The other lowered the cardboard box onto the table. Ethan's coffee mug came out first. Then his brass nameplate. Then a framed photograph of his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, smiling beside him at Lincoln Park. The officer lifted the photograph. Beneath it lay the missing black authentication key. The room went silent. Ethan stared at the device. "That wasn't in my box." Derek's expression hardened with satisfaction. "You returned the bag after removing the one item that could move millions of dollars." "I never touched that key." "Then how did it get beneath your daughter's photograph?" Ethan looked around the room. The executives who had avoided his eyes during his dismissal were now watching him as though they had finally been proven right. Claire's face had gone pale. "Ethan," she said, "tell me the truth." "I am." Derek stepped closer. "The first time we caught him, $12,000 disappeared. Now he has an executive key hidden among his belongings. How much more evidence do you need?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "You had access to that box." Derek smiled. "And now you're accusing the chief financial officer." "I'm accusing whoever needed that key to be found on me." The boardroom doors opened again. Lily stood outside beside the lobby attendant, her wet hair clinging to her face. She had followed security upstairs after they refused to let her remain alone in the lobby. "Dad?" Ethan turned. The fear in her eyes struck harder than anything Derek had said. One officer reached for Ethan's wrist. Lily ran forward. "He didn't steal anything." "Lily, stay back." "But we found the bag together." "He wouldn't even take the money." The officer fastened the first handcuff. Claire watched Ethan lower himself so he could look his daughter in the eyes. "Listen to me," he said quietly. "Go with Mrs. Hale when she gets here." "Are they taking you to jail?" "I need to answer some questions." "You said the truth would matter." "It does." "Then why are they doing this?" Ethan had no answer that would not break something inside her. The second cuff closed around his wrist. As security led him away, Derek looked toward the executives and spoke with the calm authority of a man ending an inconvenience. "Now we can finish the merger without further disruption." Claire remained beside the open handbag. Everything Ethan could easily have stolen was still inside. Yet the one object capable of authorizing a fortune had somehow appeared beneath his daughter's photograph. 36 hours earlier, Ethan Walker had arrived at Hawthorne Luxury Group before sunrise. As operations supervisor, he was responsible for 3 warehouses, 200 employees, and the movement of luxury goods worth more than some small companies. He had worked there for 9 years. He knew every loading schedule, every restricted door, and nearly every employee by name. That morning, a $12,000 cash reserve was missing from the secure operations room. At 9:15, Claire summoned him to the 32nd floor conference room. Derek stood beside a wall monitor displaying Ethan's personnel records. Not just his work history. His overdue rent. Lily's medical bills. His application for extra weekend shifts. A request for an advance that had been denied 2 months earlier. Ethan stared at the screen. Why are my personal financial records being shown in this room? Derek folded his arms. Because motive matters. Debt is not a confession. No, but it explains temptation. Claire sat at the head of the table with an investigation folder open before her. She had inherited Hawthorne Luxury Group after her father's death and spent 3 years proving to the board that she could lead it without sentiment. A merger worth $800 million was scheduled to be signed in 48 hours. Any sign of financial instability could destroy it. Your access card opened the cash room at 3:17 yesterday afternoon, she said. I was in a safety meeting on this floor. The meeting began at 3:26. No. Derek called me up before 3. Derek changed the screen. A time-stamped video showed a person in a dark operations jacket entering the cash room corridor at 3:16. His face was hidden beneath a cap. Same height, Derek said. Same uniform. Your card. Half my team wears that jacket. Only one of them requested a payroll advance. Ethan looked at Claire. Ask Margaret Hale. She was in the meeting when I arrived. Margaret, the human resources director, sat near the far end of the table. I saw Ethan outside the conference room before 3, she said. But I did not check the exact time. Derek leaned toward her. Then you cannot establish an alibi. I can establish that he was here. Near here is not inside this room. Ethan turned back to the video. Show me the original file. This is the original. Then show the device signature from the door reader. Derek's expression changed slightly. You are not part of the security investigation. I ran access systems for 4 years before I moved into operations. Every badge sends a unique hardware signature. If that was my card, the signature will match. Claire looked toward Derek. Do we have it? The system was updated last month. Some legacy data is unavailable. Ethan let out a disbelieving breath. So the one record that could prove whether the card was copied is unavailable. Derek closed the display. The company cannot allow an accused employee to conduct his own defense. I am not conducting anything. I am asking you to finish what you started. Claire looked at the merger documents beside her. The board wanted certainty before the markets opened. Derek had given her a clear suspect, a motive, an access record, and a missing $12,000. Ethan had given her questions. She chose the answer that required less time. Your employment is terminated immediately. Margaret looked up. Claire, the investigation is incomplete. The company cannot risk further loss. Ethan remained still. Are you firing me because you know I stole the money, or because my life makes the accusation believable? Derek slid a cardboard box across the table. Security will escort you to your desk. Ethan looked at Claire one final time. My daughter's school is across the street from one of your stores. By tomorrow, parents will know what you called me. Claire's voice softened, but not enough. This is not personal. It becomes personal when a child has to defend her father from a lie. Outside the glass walls, employees pretended to work while Ethan packed his desk. His coffee mug. His nameplate. A jacket Lily had bought him at a thrift store. The photograph of the two of them at Lincoln Park. A young warehouse clerk named Marcus started to approach, but Derek appeared behind him. Anyone interfering with the investigation may be suspended. Marcus stopped. Ethan saw the fear on the young man's face. "It's all right," Ethan said. "Go back to work." At the elevator, Margaret hurried after him. "Your access card malfunctioned twice last week," she whispered. "You reported doors opening after you had already left." "I know. I entered both complaints." "What happened to them?" Derek marked them resolved. "Did he replace the card?" "No, the elevator doors opened." Ethan looked across the executive floor. Derek stood inside the conference room deleting files from the presentation screen. For 1 second, their eyes met. Then the doors closed. Ethan arrived at Lily's after-school program 27 minutes late. She ran toward him, then stopped when she saw the cardboard box. "Why do you have your office things?" "The company asked me to leave." "For today." "For longer than today." They walked through the rain toward his aging sedan. Lily placed the box carefully between her feet. At the top lay the photograph from his desk. "Did you get fired?" Ethan started the engine but did not move. "Yes." "Why?" He looked through the windshield at parents carrying umbrellas and grocery bags, living through problems that seemed ordinary compared with the one now sitting beside him. "They think I took money." Lily's face changed. "Mason's mom called the school office. She asked if you were arrested." "Not yet." "Did you take it?" The question was barely louder than the rain. Ethan looked at her. "No," Lily nodded, but tears gathered in her eyes. "I told them you didn't." "You did the right thing." "What if nobody believes me?" "Then you keep telling the truth." "That doesn't make them stop." "No, then what does?" Ethan wished he could promise that honesty always won quickly. He had lived long enough to know better. Sometimes the truth has to survive before it can win. At home, he found a red notice taped to the apartment door. Rent was 11 days overdue. The landlord had given him 72 hours to pay or arrange a move-out date. Inside, the refrigerator rattled without cooling. A stack of medical statements waited on the kitchen counter. Lily needed new glasses before the end of the month. Ethan opened his banking application. After groceries and gas, he had $412. Lily stood behind him. "Are we losing the apartment?" "Not tonight." "That's not what I asked." He closed the application. "I will find another job." "What if they tell people you stole?" Ethan did not answer. That evening, he drove downtown to return his parking pass and locker key. Lily came with him because the neighbor who usually watched her was working late. Traffic stalled beside the Winston Hotel, where Hawthorne Luxury Group had hosted a charity luncheon earlier that day. Lily pointed toward a covered bench near the entrance. A pale handbag sat beneath it. No one nearby seemed to notice. Ethan parked and followed her through the rain. The bag was heavy. Its clasp had not fully closed, and through the narrow opening, Ethan saw cash envelopes, jewelry, and Claire Hawthorne's identification. Lily saw them too. "Dad." Ethan closed the bag. "That's Miss Hawthorne's. There's enough money to pay the rent." "I know. And my glasses." "I know. She fired you." "Yes." "She called you a thief." "Yes." Lily's voice trembled. "Why should we help her?" Ethan looked at the hotel entrance, then back toward his daughter. For a moment, he imagined taking one envelope. Not the jewelry. Not the watch. Just enough to keep the apartment. Claire might never notice. Even if she did, she had already decided he was guilty. The thought frightened him because it sounded reasonable. Lily watched his face. Would it be stealing if she already thinks you did it? Ethan knelt in front of her. What she believes does not change what belongs to us. But being good didn't save your job. No, it didn't stop people from talking. No, then what does it do? It lets me look at you without lying about the man I am. He carried the bag into the hotel lobby. The front desk clerk offered to place it in lost property, but Ethan saw temporary staff moving through the crowded hall and confidential papers visible beneath the flap. I'll return it directly. The clerk called Hawthorne Tower. Someone in finance answered. Minutes later, security was told Ethan Walker was a terminated employee under investigation. And should not be allowed upstairs. Ethan drove to the tower anyway. He left Lily near the lobby desk and placed the handbag before security. Derek arrived before Claire. His eyes went immediately to the bag. Not to Ethan. Not to Lily. To the narrow compartment where the authentication key should have been. Where did you find it? He demanded. Outside the Winston Hotel. Derek reached for the bag. Ethan pulled it back. It belongs to Claire. Derek's face hardened. You are in no position to give orders. Then call her. Claire entered the lobby minutes later. Ethan gave her the bag and asked her to check every pocket. When the key was missing, Derek ordered security to search him. When the device appeared beneath Lily's photograph, the police were called. That was how Ethan found himself in handcuffs while his daughter begged a room full of wealthy strangers to believe the truth. At the station, detectives questioned him for nearly 4 hours. Why return the bag if you took the key? I didn't take it. Why was it in your box? Someone put it there. Who had access? Security. Derek Vaughn. Anyone near the boardroom after I was dismissed. Do you have proof? No, they showed him a photograph of the authentication key beneath Lily's picture. To everyone else, it looked like guilt hiding beneath innocence. At 1:30 in the morning, Claire declined to press charges over the handbag itself. Corporate investigators still considered Ethan a suspect in the missing money and attempted transfer scheme, but the police released him pending further evidence. Margaret waited outside with Lily asleep against her shoulder. The moment Lily saw Ethan, she ran to him. They said you hid it under my picture. I didn't. I know. Her trust should have comforted him. Instead, it terrified him. He could survive losing a job. He could survive humiliation. He did not know if he could survive failing the one person who still believed him without question. By morning, Derek had leaked the story. A local business website published Ethan's photograph beneath the headline, "Fired Supervisor Questioned After CEO's Security Device Found in His Property." The article included his debt, his overdue rent, and Lily's medical expenses. By noon, 3 companies canceled interviews. His landlord called and demanded payment by Friday. At school, 2 children asked Lily whether her father had taught her how to steal. When she pushed one of them away, the principal suspended her from the spring music program. Ethan sat across from the principal in a small office decorated with posters about kindness. My daughter was defending herself. She placed her hands on another student. After he called her father a criminal. We cannot control what children hear at home. No. But you can control whether my daughter is punished for carrying an accusation adults created. The principal folded her hands. The decision stands. Outside, Lily waited on a bench with her instrument case beside her. I ruined the concert, she said. No, I pushed him. You made a mistake. Are you mad? I'm mad that you had to hear those words. She looked down. You told me being louder doesn't make the truth stronger. I did. I forgot. Ethan sat beside her. So did I. That afternoon, Claire watched the same news story from her office. Derek stood near the window. "The leak is unfortunate," he said, "but it may discourage him from attempting further extortion. He never asked for money. He asked for access to you. He returned my bag. After taking the key." Claire looked at him. "How did you know the key was missing before I opened the inner compartment?" Derek paused. "I knew what you kept there. You looked directly at that pocket when you entered the lobby. Because it contains the company's most sensitive device. Only 3 people knew I carried it yesterday." Then one of them told him. Claire turned toward the security report. "Who had access to Ethan's cardboard box before it was searched?" "Several people. You were one of them." Derek's expression cooled. "Be careful, Claire." "With what?" "With allowing guilt over a personnel decision to become paranoia." He placed the merger file on her desk. "The board meets tomorrow morning. They expect the acquisition to proceed. If you reopen this investigation now, lenders may walk away. And if we accuse the wrong man?" "We did not." "You sound very certain." "That is why your father trusted me." The words landed exactly where Derek intended. Claire's father had brought him into the company 15 years earlier. Derek had been beside the family through illness, funerals, and boardroom battles. Questioning him felt like questioning part of the company's foundation. But Claire remembered Ethan in handcuffs, lowering himself to speak gently to Lily while everyone else treated him like a threat. She called hotel security. The Winston Hotel footage showed a catering coordinator leaving Claire's bag beneath the bench while loading supplies. 7 minutes later, a man in a gray raincoat picked it up. His face remained hidden beneath an umbrella. He carried the bag into the underground service corridor. 19 minutes later, he returned it to the same bench. Then Lily found it. Claire requested footage from the service corridor. The hotel manager hesitated. That camera stopped recording during the exact 19-minute window. Stopped on its own. "We received a remote maintenance request." "From whom?" "The authorization came from Hawthorne Luxury Group." Claire felt the room narrow around her. She called Margaret. "Bring me every access card complaint Derek closed in the last 6 months." There were 11. All belonged to employees with financial problems. 2 had been dismissed after small cash shortages. 1 had resigned after being publicly accused. Every report had passed through Derek's office. Claire authorized an independent forensic review. Before the specialists could finish copying the system, someone attempted to erase the original access logs. The request came from a finance administrator account. Derek entered Claire's office without knocking. "You froze my department. I preserved company records. You are delaying the merger over a warehouse supervisor. I am investigating whether we framed an innocent employee." "We?" Claire stood. "I approve the decision. I will not hide behind you." Derek stepped closer. "If the board learns you stopped an $800 million acquisition because a dismissed employee returned a handbag, they will remove you before lunch. Then they can remove me after they hear the truth. You still think truth is what protects a company?" "No. People who refuse to manipulate it protect a company." Derek's face lost its practiced warmth. "Your father understood that leadership requires choosing which damage matters." Claire met his eyes. "My father is dead. Stop using him to make your decisions sound moral." That evening, Claire drove to Ethan's apartment. The building hallway smelled of damp carpet and old paint. An eviction warning remained taped beside his door. Ethan opened it but did not invite her inside. "I came to apologize." "Did you clear my name?" "Not yet." "Then you came to feel better." Claire absorbed the accusation. "I found evidence that your card may have been copied." "May have been." "The hotel camera was disabled by someone using company authorization." And the key? I don't know who placed it in your box. Ethan looked over his shoulder. Lily sat at the kitchen table, pretending to do homework while listening to every word. You let them handcuff me in front of her. I believed the evidence. You believed the version that protected the merger. Claire lowered her voice. You are right. No. I was right yesterday. That did not stop you. I need your help understanding the access system. Ethan laughed once, without humor. You fired me because I asked technical questions. Now you want those questions because they point towards someone more expensive to accuse. I am trying to correct this. Then correct it publicly. I need proof. You had enough proof to destroy me. The apartment became quiet. Lily appeared beside Ethan. Are people going to know my dad didn't steal? Claire looked at her. Yes. When? Claire could not give her a date. Lily nodded slowly. That's what adults say when they don't know. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. Then he stepped aside. I'll show you how the badges can be cloned. I'm not doing it to save your merger. I'm doing it because Derek used other employees before me, and he'll use more after. The next morning, Ethan entered Hawthorne Tower through a side entrance. Claire had wanted him to walk through the lobby beside her. He refused. I am not returning until my name does. In the technology lab, forensic specialists displayed 4 months of access signals. Ethan recognized the pattern immediately. The cloned cards were captured near the employee entrance on payroll Fridays. How can you know that? Claire asked. Every affected employee worked late. The reader was hidden near the time clock. Derek chose people with debt because their private records made the accusation believable. Margaret placed a list on the table. 5 names. Overdue rent. Medical bills. Child support. Loan payments. Beside each name was a date and an estimated amount the employee could be blamed for taking without triggering outside review. Ethan's name appeared at the top. Claire read the handwritten note beside it. Single father. No legal resources. Financial pressure documented. Her face tightened. He did not see employees, Ethan said. He saw stories he could sell. A specialist recovered a device signature linked to the cloned badge. It matched a credential reader assigned to finance operations. For the first time, Claire allowed herself to believe they might prove everything. Then the lead auditor received an urgent alert. A bank account opened in Ethan Walker's name had received $96,000 from one of the fraudulent vendors. The room went still. Ethan stared at the screen. That is not my account. The auditor opened the identity documents. Ethan's social security number. His address. A copy of his driver's license. An electronic signature matching the one in his employment file. Claire's voice became careful. Did you ever open an account with Great Lakes Federal? No. Did you give anyone permission to use your identity? No. A second alert appeared. Police had searched a storage unit rented in Ethan's name. Inside, they found $23,000 in cash, a portable credential reader, and copies of confidential Hawthorne documents. Derek entered the laboratory with corporate counsel and 2 board members. I warned you, he said. Claire turned on him. You knew about the search. I contacted the authorities after your audit revealed the account. You went around me. I protected the company while you protected him. Police officers appeared behind him. Lily's photograph was still in Ethan's coat pocket when one officer took his arm. Claire stepped between them. This evidence could be fabricated. Derek looked toward the board members. She has lost objectivity. One director addressed Claire. Effective immediately, you are suspended from the investigation. Mr. Vaughn will oversee the merger and internal response until the board reviews your conduct. Ethan stared at Claire. For the first time, she saw anger replace restraint. "Tell them," he said. "Tell them where I was when that account was opened." Claire looked at the documents. The account had been created online at 2:13 in the morning, using his personal information. There was no immediate alibi. "Ethan, I need to understand," his face changed. "You're asking me again." "I am asking how they got everything." "No. You are asking whether the lie became expensive enough for you to believe it twice. That is not fair." "Fair?" His voice rose for the first time. "My daughter was suspended because of your accusation. My landlord is putting our belongings on the sidewalk. You watched the police search my home this morning. And now, because someone copied documents your company kept, you are looking at me like I might have built the cage myself." Claire had no defense. Ethan held out his hands to the officers. "You don't want the truth. You want a version you can survive." They led him away. Derek turned toward the room. "The independent audit is terminated. All records will be transferred to finance." Margaret stepped forward. "You cannot transfer evidence to the department under investigation. I can dismiss anyone who refuses." "Then dismiss me." Derek looked at her. "You have 20 minutes to clear your office." Claire watched Margaret remove her badge and place it on the table. For the first time, Derek's victory looked complete. Ethan spent the night in county detention while prosecutors reviewed the storage unit evidence. Lily stayed with Margaret. She barely spoke until after midnight. Then she removed a small envelope from her backpack. "My dad gave me this before the police came." Inside were copies of Ethan's original badge complaints and a handwritten list of vendor numbers. At the bottom, Ethan had written one name. Lucas Reed. Margaret knew him. Lucas was a junior financial analyst who had stopped coming to work 2 weeks earlier. His resignation letter claimed stress. His personnel file showed something else. Derek had accused him of violating confidentiality after Lucas questioned temporary vendor payments. Margaret and Claire found him at his brother's apartment on the south side. Lucas opened the door only far enough to see them. "I can't help you." "Derek already blamed Ethan," Claire said. "He'll blame me next. He has already prepared your file." Lucas froze. Margaret showed him a copy of the hardship list. His name appeared beneath Ethan's. Gambling debt. Recently divorced. Limited credibility. Lucas read the words twice. "I don't gamble." "He doesn't need it to be true," Margaret said. "He only needs people to recognize the shape of it." Lucas stepped outside and closed the door behind him. "I copied Ethan's access card." Claire felt her stomach drop. "Why?" Derek said it was part of a penetration test. "When I asked for written authorization, he showed me an email from your office. I never sent it." "I know that now. Did you place the key in Ethan's box?" Lucas shook his head. "Derek's executive assistant did. I saw her take the box from security after Ethan left. She brought it to finance for 10 minutes. What about the account and storage unit?" Derek downloaded identity files from Human Resources. He used a prepaid phone to create the account. The storage unit camera should show his driver. The footage was erased. Lucas reached into his pocket. "I saved the original." He held up a small memory card. "I kept it because I knew one day he would need someone else to carry the blame." The footage showed Derek's driver entering the storage facility with 2 finance employees. They carried the credential reader, documents, and cash into the unit 3 days before Ethan was fired. It proved the evidence had been planted. But it did not prove Derek personally controlled the stolen money. Derek's attorneys could call the employees rogue actors. Lucas had one more piece. The executive key logs every authorization locally. It cannot be erased remotely. If Derek still has it, the full transfer history is inside. The key is in police evidence, Claire said. Lucas shook his head. The device found in Ethan's box was a duplicate shell. Same casing, different chip. The real key is still with Derek. Claire understood. Derek had used the missing key to move money, then planted a harmless copy on Ethan. To expose him, they had to make him use the original again. Claire contacted the board chairman, federal investigators, and the company's outside counsel. By morning, Hawthorne Luxury Group announced that the internal investigation had cleared Derek of wrongdoing and that the merger would proceed. The announcement was a lie authorized by investigators. A reserve transfer of $2,800,000 was scheduled for 4:15 that afternoon. Only Claire's missing executive key could approve it. Derek believed he had one. At 3:40, prosecutors released Ethan after reviewing the storage footage. Claire waited outside. He walked past her without stopping. "We found the account was created with stolen records," she said. He kept walking. "We proved the storage unit was planted." Ethan stopped. "Is my name clear?" "Not publicly." "Then nothing is finished. We need Derek to use the real key." Ethan turned. "And you need me again?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because he knows I suspect him. He believes you hate me enough to accept a deal." Ethan looked toward the street. "What deal?" "He is going to offer you money to confirm that I ordered the fraud." "How do you know?" "Because he sent a message to Margaret asking her to arrange a meeting." Ethan's expression hardened. "He wants me to destroy you. He wants to destroy both of us. Just in the order that protects him." Federal investigators fitted Ethan with a concealed transmitter. The meeting took place in the underground garage beneath Hawthorne Tower. At 4 o'clock, Derek stepped from a black sedan carrying a leather folder. "You look tired," he said. "Jail does that." Derek held out the folder. Inside was a settlement agreement worth $250,000, full relocation expenses, and a written guarantee that Lily's school record would be corrected. "All you need to do is sign a statement," Derek said. "Claire instructed you to create the vendor accounts. When the scheme failed, she blamed you." Ethan read the first page. "You framed me, put me in jail, and now you want to buy my voice. I gave you a way out. You used my daughter's medical bills as motive. I used what people would believe. You planted the key under her photograph." Derek's eyes narrowed. "Lower your voice." "Why?" "Afraid someone will hear the truth." Derek stepped closer. "Truth is not what happened, Ethan. Truth is what survives the boardroom." At 4:15, his phone vibrated. The reserve transfer was ready. Derek glanced at the screen. Ethan noticed a black device connected beneath the phone case. The real authentication key. "You still have it," Ethan said. Derek looked up. "You were never as quiet as everyone thought. You were never as smart as they were afraid to admit." Derek reached for Ethan's coat and felt the transmitter beneath the fabric. His expression changed. He ripped it free and crushed it beneath his shoe. "You think one broken recorder saves you?" Ethan asked. Derek opened the sedan door. "You have no idea what protects me." The transmission was live. Derek froze. A garage gate dropped behind his car. Federal agents emerged from the elevator corridor. Derek grabbed Ethan by the coat and slammed him against the sedan. "You destroyed your daughter's future for a woman who fired you twice." Ethan pushed him away. "No. You destroyed yourself because you thought every desperate person had a price." Agents pulled Derek's arms behind his back. His phone remained on the ground. The reserve transfer had been approved through Claire's stolen key. The device history contained 18 months of fraudulent transactions totaling more than $4 million. The money had been routed through companies controlled by Derek's brother-in-law and a private trust registered to Derek himself. Still, Derek demanded to attend the emergency board meeting. His attorneys argued that the arrest was based on entrapment and that Claire had manipulated a dismissed employee into fabricating evidence. At 5:30, the boardroom filled. Derek sat beside counsel without handcuffs, his confidence damaged but not gone. Claire stood at the head of the table. Ethan entered alone. Lily waited outside with Margaret. Derek looked at him and smiled faintly. Here comes the company's newest hero. Ethan placed the crushed transmitter on the table. No. Just the man you thought nobody would defend. Derek's attorney rose. My client denies every allegation. The supposed transaction was manufactured. The recording was obtained under coercive circumstances, and Mr. Walker has a financial interest in blaming a senior executive. Claire activated the wall monitor. The storage unit footage appeared first. Derek's driver and finance employees carried planted evidence inside. Lucas entered the room and identified the instructions he had received. Then the forensic specialist displayed the executive key's internal history. Every fraudulent transfer. Every vendor. Every timestamp. Every approval. The final reserve transaction had originated from Derek's phone in the parking garage. Derek leaned back. Those records could have been copied. The specialist changed the screen. A video from the garage showed the key connected to his phone at the exact moment the transfer was approved. The room became still. Derek looked toward the board chairman. You remove me, and the merger collapses. Banks will withdraw. Thousands of employees will lose their jobs. Claire faced the directors. That is the argument he used every time he wanted us to ignore something. She placed Ethan's personnel file on the table. I ignored incomplete timestamps because the merger was urgent. I allowed private hardship records to become evidence of character. I watched an innocent father leave this building in handcuffs because admitting uncertainty felt more dangerous than destroying him. Derek struck the table. You are confessing your incompetence. Yes. The answer silenced him. Claire continued. I failed. Publicly. Completely, and without excuse. But my failure does not make your crime leadership. Derek turned toward Ethan. You think she respects you? You are useful to her now. That is all. When the cameras leave, you will still be the warehouse man who could not pay his rent. Ethan stepped closer. My rent was late because my daughter got sick. Derek smiled. Exactly. No. Not exactly. Ethan's voice remained calm. You looked at love and saw weakness. You looked at debt and saw guilt. You looked at quiet people and assumed they had no one listening. He gestured toward Lucas, Margaret, the investigators, and the employees watching through the glass. That was your mistake. The board voted unanimously to remove Derek Vaughn from every position and cooperate with federal prosecutors. His accounts were frozen before he left the room. The acquisition was suspended. The company's stock would fall the next morning. Several directors feared the damage. Claire did not hide it. She activated the company-wide conference feed. Employees appeared on screens throughout the headquarters and warehouses. Ethan stood beside her, but she did not ask him to speak first. This company accused Ethan Walker of theft, Claire said. That accusation was false. Evidence was fabricated using his financial hardship, stolen identity records, and a copied access card. I approved his termination before the investigation was complete. When new evidence appeared, I doubted him a second time. Across the building, employees stopped working. Claire looked directly into the camera. Ethan Walker did not steal from Hawthorne Luxury Group. Hawthorne Luxury Group stole his reputation, his security, and his daughter's peace. That failure belongs to this company, and it belongs to me. She turned to Ethan. I am sorry. He did not answer immediately. Then he looked through the glass wall toward Lily. An apology cannot erase what she heard. I know. It cannot give back the night I spent in jail. I know. It cannot make people forget the headline. No, then do not ask the apology to do what only action can. Claire nodded. What action? Clear every employee Derek used. Restore every dollar. Protect hardship records. Give accused workers independent counsel. And never let one executive control the evidence against the person he is accusing. The board chairman spoke from behind them. Those changes will be expensive. Ethan looked at him. So was trusting the wrong man. 6 months later, Hawthorne Luxury Group no longer looked invincible. The failed merger had cost the company millions. Several directors resigned. Federal investigators expanded the fraud case. Derek Vaughn faced charges for wire fraud, identity theft, evidence tampering, and obstruction. But the company survived. More importantly, it changed. 11 employees whose access cards had been copied received public exonerations, restored wages, and legal settlements. 2 former workers returned under independent contracts. Hardship records could no longer be accessed by finance. Every disciplinary case required review by an outside ethics panel. Margaret Hale became Director of Employee Advocacy. Lucas Reed entered witness protection under the federal case and later accepted a position with an independent auditing firm. Claire offered Ethan his former job with full back pay. He declined. Then she offered him a newly created position as Director of Operations Integrity, reporting directly to the board with authority to stop any investigation that violated employee rights. He accepted only after the protections were written into company policy. On his first morning back, Ethan walked through the main lobby carrying the same cardboard box. Employees turned as he passed. Some apologized. Some lowered their eyes. Marcus, the young warehouse clerk who had been afraid to approach him, stepped forward. I should have said something. Ethan stopped. Would you say it next time? Yes. Then start there. He placed Lily's photograph on his new desk. Not beneath company awards. Not beside his title. Directly in front of him. That afternoon, Claire entered with a document. The board approved the Emergency Family Fund. How much? $2 million. Where did it come from? Claire hesitated. I sold the handbag. Ethan looked at her. The ivory one. At auction. What did it bring? $48,000. The company matched it, and 3 directors contributed the rest after I reminded them how much their legal defense would have cost if we had continued lying. For the first time in months, Ethan smiled. That sounds almost like leadership. Almost. You still have work to do. So do you. At Lincoln Elementary, the principal reversed Lily's suspension and invited her back into the spring music program. Ethan did not accept the decision quietly. He required the school to address the rumor publicly and create a policy for children targeted because of accusations against family members. Lily stood backstage on the night of the concert, holding her violin with both hands. I'm nervous, she said. You practiced. That doesn't stop nervous. No. It just means nervous doesn't get to decide. She looked toward the auditorium. Did Miss Hawthorne come? Ethan glanced through the curtain. Claire stood near the entrance holding a small bouquet of yellow daisies. No assistant. No driver. No reporters. Just Claire. She came. Lily smiled. There's an empty chair next to you. I noticed. I told her it was hers. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You are making seating decisions now. She sold a $37,000 bag. I think she can sit in a folding chair. The concert began. Lily's first note trembled. Her second was stronger. By the time the children reached the final song, she was no longer looking at the students who had mocked her or the parents who had whispered about her father. She looked at Ethan. Then at Claire seated beside him. Afterward, Lily ran into the aisle with the violin case bouncing against her leg. Claire handed her the flowers. "You were brave," she said. "I was nervous. Those can happen at the same time." Lily looked between the two adults. "Dad says people are not the worst thing they did." Ethan became still. Claire lowered her eyes. "Your father is generous. He also says forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened." Claire looked at Ethan. "He is right about that too." They walked outside together beneath the cool Chicago night. Claire did not move ahead as the chief executive officer. Ethan did not follow as an employee. They walked beside Lily, who carried the flowers in one hand and held her father's hand with the other. At the curb, Claire stopped. "I cannot return what my decision took from you," she said. "No, but I can make sure the next person is harder to destroy." "That is where you begin. And where do we go after that?" Ethan looked toward Lily as she carefully arranged the flowers inside the old sedan. "We do not decide the ending before we have all the evidence." Claire smiled. For once, she did not ask for certainty. Ethan had returned a handbag while his rent was overdue, his daughter needed glasses, and the woman who owned it had already called him a thief. He had lost his job, his freedom, and nearly his home. He had been given every reason to become the man Derek claimed he was. Instead, he remained the man his daughter believed him to be. The truth did not arrive before the damage. It did not arrive politely. It had to survive planted evidence, public humiliation, fear, power, and the convenience of a lie. But when it finally entered the room, it did not come alone. It brought witnesses. It brought accountability. It brought back the names of people who had been ignored. And it taught an entire company that poverty was not guilt, silence was not weakness, and a person's character was measured most clearly when doing the right thing cost almost everything.